Hello, good day, guys. Sorry, I just had a little problem with my internet, so sorry for that. So we're going to move straight to the mandatory training, as we've been doing always. Okay. So let's quickly go there. Go to the training. Start. Okay.
Over the past year, ransomware has attacked businesses 3 times more than in the previous year. It is an epidemic forecasted to keep growing. In this episode, we focus on a strain of ransomware called popcorn time ransomware. With this version, you have 2 options once contracting it. Option 1, pay the ransom. Option 2, copy the link that they supply you with and send it to as many people as you know. If 2 other people click the link and pay the ransom, you get your decryption key for free. This is the most evil version of ransomware we've seen to date.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm leaving work right now. I'll see you in 20.
Why'd you do it? I asked you a question, jerk. Why'd you do it?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
The ransomware you sent me. It locked my files. And don't play stupid. I know it was you.
Look, I had no choice, okay?
Wrong. You did have a choice. And the reason I know is because I got the same lock screen as you.
I am just so sorry. I really am. It's just, I am buried in credit card debt. There is no way I could afford to pay that ransom. And it was my work computer. I was afraid I'd get in trouble, maybe even lose my job.
But you work for one of the biggest tech companies in the country. I'm sure they'd much rather their employees tell them when a breach happens rather than keep it on the down low and infect other people. Who sent you the email anyway?
Someone I barely know, friend of a friend. She was sending my portfolio performance. Yeah, I mean, it was weird, but I was curious.
Why would someone who is not your advisor send you that? She wouldn't. That's the thing with this new ransomware variant, that the email might seem out of context given the relationship between the sender and the recipient. Sometimes the context is interesting enough or generic enough to trick people into clicking the link, just like you and I did, because we're curious.
Okay, so just so I know, how should I have handled things once I got the lock screen?
You should have immediately powered down your computer and notified your IT department. They might be a little upset you got infected, but they will definitely be upset if you continue to hide the issue, leaving your entire network vulnerable to attack from your computer, which is still infected with ransomware.
Okay, I'll notify the IT department right away so they can isolate my computer and hopefully limit the damage. So, did you pay the ransom and recover your files?
Heck no. There was no way I was giving those hackers a dime of my money. Luckily, I had most of my files backed up to the cloud, including my photos and videos.
Oh, well, that's good.
Last thing, who else did you infect besides me?
I gave the hackers the name of one other acquaintance of mine, Lisa. I don't think you know her.
You should call Lisa right away and tell her not to open any emails from you or click on any links.
You're right. I'll call her right now.
Okay, so should we go straight to the questions or we should play it once more? Okay, let's play it once more.
Over the past year, ransomware has attacked businesses 3 times more than in the previous year. It is an epidemic forecasted to keep growing. In this episode, we focus on a strain of ransomware called popcorn time ransomware. With this version, you have 2 options once contracting it. Option 1, pay the ransom. Option 2, copy the link that they supply you with and send it to as many people as you know. If 2 other people click the link and pay the ransom, you get your decryption key for free. This is the most evil version of ransomware we've seen to date.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm leaving work right now. I'll see you in 20.
Why'd you do it? I asked you a question, jerk. Why'd you do it?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
The ransomware you sent me. It locked my files. And don't play stupid. I know it was you.
Look, I had no choice, okay?
Wrong. You did have a choice. And the reason I know is because I got the same lock screen as you.
Okay, look, I am just so sorry. I really am. It's just, I am buried in credit card debt. There is no way I could afford to pay that ransom. And it was my work computer. I was afraid I'd get in trouble, maybe even lose my job.
But you work for one of the biggest tech companies in the country. I'm sure they'd much rather their employees tell them when a breach happens rather than keep it on the down low and infect other people. Who sent you the email anyway?
Someone I barely know, friend of a friend. She was sending my portfolio performance. Yeah, I mean, it was weird, but I was curious.
Why would someone who is not your advisor send you that? She wouldn't. That's the thing with this new ransomware variant, that the email might seem out of context given the relationship between the sender and the recipient. Sometimes the context is interesting enough or generic enough to trick people into clicking the link, just like you and I did, because we're curious.
Okay, so just so I know, how should I have handled things once I got the lock screen?
You should have immediately powered down your computer and notified your IT department. They might be a little upset you got infected, but they will definitely be upset if you continue to hide the issue, leaving your entire network vulnerable to attack from your computer, which is still infected with ransomware.
Okay, I'll notify the IT department right away so they can isolate my computer and hopefully limit the damage. So, did you pay the ransom and recover your files?
Heck no. There was no way I was giving those hackers a dime of my money. Luckily, I had most of my files backed up to the cloud, including my photos and videos.
Oh, well, that's good.
Last thing, who else did you infect besides me?
I gave the hackers the name of one other acquaintance of mine, Lisa. I don't think you know her.
You should call Lisa right away and tell her not to open any emails from you or click on any links.
You're right. I'll call her right now.
Okay, so let's go take the quiz. The first question is the moment that you realize that you've been infected with ransomware, it is best to hard power down your computer. This usually means holding the power button down for 8 seconds, for 6 seconds or longer. Alternatively, if you can identify the power cord easily or the Ethernet cord, you should unplug those immediately. Doing this may limit the spreading of ransomware across your work's network. True or false? The moment you realize you've been infected with the ransomware, it is best to hard power down your computer. This usually means holding the power button down for 6 seconds or longer. Alternatively, if you can identify the power cord easily and all the Ethernet cord, you should unplug those immediately. Doing this may limit the spreading of ransomware across your work's network. True or false? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
I think
Okay.
it's true.
It's true.
Okay, true. Second one, knowing that you'll become unlocked for free if you can get 2 other people to pay the ransom. You should send that link to as many people as you know, in hopes that you get the decryption key for free, and nobody will ever know what's happened, knowing that you become unlocked for free if you can get 2 other people to pay the ransom. You should send that link to as many people as you know, in hopes that you get the decryption key for free and nobody will ever know what happened. True or false?
It's
False.
false.
All right, so that's false. Third one, if you receive an email with a link to click and the email has come from someone you kind of know, but the email seems odd respective to your relationship with them, it is best to not click the link and forward it to the appropriate department per your company's policy. True or false?
True.
Okay, true. The last one, you may be worried about notifying the appropriate department about your ransomware attack, but after you've powered down or unplugged your machine, they should be the first people whom you notify in hopes that they may be able to contain the damage. Ransomware can spread throughout the network if not contained, so it is important to take the attack very seriously. True or false?
True.
All right, so another true. So let's see. Okay, so congratulations, it's 100%. So let's come back to the house. And today we are going to have a very important presentation, even though last week someone started something on that's vulnerability management. Fortunately for us, the resource person for the day has done his work, prepared the slides and everything, but unfortunately, he just called this afternoon that he will not be able to be with us today because he has a very important meeting at his college. So he sent us the material, his work, and we are going to use this opportunity to present on his behalf. So whatever I'm going to read, it's his work, and I'm fully acknowledging that. So our resource person happens to be Justin. So Justin is not here, so I'm going to take his place and present for him. But the work that I'm going to present on is the work of Mr. Jackson. Justin, he sent it to me this afternoon. So it's all on vulnerability management. So that is what Justin decided to present on. But hopefully next week we'll have him to do some demonstrations too as well, if he is available next week. So he says vulnerability management is just a systematic approach to identifying, evaluating, prioritizing, mitigating, and monitoring security vulnerabilities in an organization's information technology infrastructure. So the goal of the vulnerability management is to reduce an infrastructure, is to reduce, organization's exposure to potential security threats by addressing weaknesses and flaws in its system, applications, and network. So vulnerability management, so it's just a continuous or a systematic approach, and often automated process that keeps your computer system, networks, and enterprise applications safe from cyber attacks and data breaches. As such, it is an important part of an overall security program. By identifying, assessing, and addressing potential security weaknesses, organizations can help prevent attacks and minimize the damage if one does occur. So basically, vulnerability management is just trying to have a total control of one's assets, trying to evaluate, trying to prioritize, trying to monitor the security flaws within a particular asset in an organization. Not only whenever I'm talking in terms of this cybersecurity thing, I try to relate it to our physical environments. So in your physical environment as well, you need to kind of have a 360-degree watch of over whatever is happening in and around you in order not to fall prey to any unwanted attack from bad people, because malicious people are everywhere. So it is important that we keep record, we keep track of whatever is happening in and around us. Whatever we realize or we've seen that it's a problem, it's something that someone could take advantage of, we try to take control of that thing and try to prioritize whatever we are in. We know that this area is a no-go area for any other person. By so doing, we could or would be able to protect whatever is there that needs to be well protected. So the primary objective is to reduce an organization's exposure to potential security threats. So that is the main thing. The key thing about vulnerability management is to reduce the amount or the number, to reduce how you expose, how your weaknesses should be known by people around you or people from outside your environment. So just try to protect yourself, try not to show everything about you to the outside world. So the objective is to, for an organization to reduce its exposure to potential security threats. Key steps involve vulnerability identification, the scanning, risk assessment, prioritization, remediation, verification, documentation, continuous monitoring, and compliance. So these are some of the things that needs to be taken care of or needs to be looked carefully. With steps involve vulnerability identification, that's scanning, risk assessments. You do the scanning of your environment to see whatever is happening within that environment. You can have a quick scan, you can have a complete scan of your system to see whatever activities is going on in that system. Risk assessment, you assess the kind of risk that is within that particular environment or within that system to see if it's something that you can say, okay, this is within the threshold that I can, contain. So I will just leave this, but this is beyond me. I have to quickly react on that. So by doing those assessments, you'll be able to know that at this point in time, I need to take action based on this thing that I've seen, or this is my limits. From 1, for instance, we can rate it from 1 to 10 and say, as soon as it reaches 4, I need to take action, start taking action from it. But when the risk is below, it's like 1, 2, you can decide to forget about it. You can decide not to bother so much about it, because looking at the investment that you do in terms of your time, resources, and what have you, to be able to manage that and the kind of risk that is there, you can decide to let go of that. But when it is higher, that is when you need to take action. And this will all come as a result of you doing your assessment of that risk, prioritization of the risk. You prioritize it. You know that, okay, this area is a no-go area. This area, I can leave it to go. You make sure that this asset, I need to protect it for. This one, I can just decide not to bother too much about it and stuff like that. All will depend on how you prioritize your assets and what have you. Remediation is just to try to find a ways and means of fixing it, of mitigating, of, correcting whatever that is having. Verification and documentation has to do with keeping records of whatever has happened. So continuous monitoring is after you've done all this, you continue to monitor the system to know that everything is according to plan. Compliance is also important because there are various standards that an organization needs to go by. You need to comply with the certain standards like the ISO 2770001 or 27001 and stuff. Those are some of the standards, like the GDPR laws and stuff like that. These are some of the areas that you need to consider. Okay, if this standard says we have to do this, that, you have to make sure that you comply to that particular standard that is set. So it is a proactive approach to enhance an organization's security posture by staying vigilant against evolving threats and safeguarding against known vulnerabilities. Okay, so understanding the risk of vulnerabilities. Understanding the risk of vulnerabilities is a critical aspect of cybersecurity. So this involves evaluating the potential threats and consequences associated with security weaknesses in an organization's IT system. So the risk assessment process considers factors like likelihood of exploitation, the potential impacts on the business, the ease of mitigation, and these are very, very important. So when you try to understand the risk and the vulnerabilities within a particular system, okay, it is these factors like the likelihood of the vulnerability or that particular weakness being exploited. Okay, so you look at it and you'll be like, okay, this particular area is something that someone can take advantage of. And whenever that person succeeds in taking advantage of that thing, it could cost the organization a lot to be able to come back to its feet. So what do? We try to fix it. Okay, for instance, there have been some holes within a system, and we've been able to identify that, or within our network, and we're able to identify that as a result of scanning that we've conducted and stuff. So we will see that, okay, this thing, since there's a patch to which we need to quickly apply that patch so that we'll be able to seal that particular hole that is within the system. Else, that hole could be exploited. That's bad people could take advantage of that particular hole and then cause a lot of damage to the organization. The potential impacts on the business. If this particular vulnerability is to be exploited, what will be the end result to our organization? Would that lead to a reputational damage to the organization? Would that lead to the organization losing sensitive data? Would that lead to the organization losing more of its customers? These are some of the things that you have to consider, to look at whenever you're dealing with a vulnerability or whenever you want to prioritize any weakness within a particular system. So you can say, okay, this thing, if it's taken advantage of, the organization will end up losing a lot of money as a result of what trying to fix that particular, damage that has been caused by the bad people, or maybe the reputation that the organization, the goodwill that the organization has will be tempered with, will be destroyed, because this particular weakness, this particular vulnerability, if the hacker takes advantage of it, he's going to cause a lot of damage to the organizations. Like in the past, there have been some incidents that has happened to more organizations like Uber and the rest. If you look at the case of the ransomware to Uber, people still remember Uber with that. People still don't respect Uber because of what happens in the past. Okay, so it is the same thing. So you look at it and then you try to make sure that you don't leave any stone unturned. You make sure that everything, every single loophole that you see within a system, you try to fix it, because you don't want anything to happen to the organization. And you look at the ease of its mitigation. How easy? How am I going to, if it's happened, can I come back to my feet? Can I be able to fix it within a certain time? Will that not destroy, not distract any of my activities? So you need to look at all those things, all those factors, because before you can say, okay, I'm keeping a dead ear, or I'm just overlooking, or I'm just leaving this vulnerability. But all in all, every single vulnerability that is being identified in our organization needs to be tackled and fixed accordingly. This understanding helps organizations prioritize their efforts to address vulnerabilities effectively. By assessing risk, organizations can make informed decisions to protect their systems and data, and and ultimately reduce the likelihood of security breaches and cyber attacks. So on the understanding of the vulnerabilities, understanding the risk of vulnerability is critical aspect of the cybersecurity. It involves evaluating the potential threats and consequences associated with security weaknesses in an organization's IT system. So the risk assessment process considers factors like the likelihood of exploitation, the potential impact. I think I've read this. Let's move to the next slide. So the best practices, or the best practices for vulnerability scanning. Vulnerability scanning is a critical part of a robust cybersecurity strategy. Okay, so here are some of the best practices for effective vulnerability scanning. Regular scanning. Regular scanning of vulnerability scanners usually work by conducting a series of tests against systems and networks, looking for common weaknesses or flaws. So these tests can include attempting to exploit known vulnerabilities, guessing default password or user accounts, or simply trying to gain access to a restricted area. So regular scanning will just make you will just help you to conduct series of tests against the system and the networks. Okay, so you look for common weaknesses or flaws within the system. When you scan, you try to identify the common flaws within the system, and then tests can include attempting exploiting, or you can attempt to exploit other vulnerabilities, or guessing default password or user accounts to be able to have a total idea about what is happening within your system. Okay, that is for regular scanning. And we have comprehensive coverage. Comprehensive coverage also has to do with having a total control of all the assets that you have within the organization. You have a good look at all the assets that are within your system. That is to say, like you have an asset discovery or inventory. Okay, it is just a reasonable or responsible for tracking and maintaining records of all devices, software servers, and more across the company's digital environment. So you try to look at all the, assets that you have within the organization. Use up-to-date tools for, the vulnerability scanning. So up-to-date tools is very important that you use not outdated tools for scanning, for looking at scanning your system. Okay, you prioritize critical assets. There are assets that are critical to the organizations. You give, priority to those assets. You try to make sure that all those assets, you have a total look, you have a total control of what is happening within that asset. Because if you fail to do that, and those assets were being taken over, it could cost organization a lot of money and a lot of, reputational damage. Risk-based approach. So you try to kind of have a total, a unique approach as to how to get to know whatever is happening within the organization. You segment the, network or something, network segmentation, separating some assets from others, separating, not combine almost everything together in order to be able to know that, okay, whenever there is a problem with this particular, I can rely on this, and then so on and so forth. Authentication testing always falls within how to allow people within the system. So you try to test, is there anyone who is an intruder within the system? Are all those within using the system allowed to be able to have access and stuff like that? So these are all things, penetration testing, scan during maintenance, and collaboration. These are all things that needs to be done in order to have a good total control of the system. So prioritizing vulnerabilities is an important aspect of effective vulnerability management. It involves assessing and ranking security weaknesses to focus remediation efforts efficiently. Key points for prioritizing vulnerabilities include risk assessments, severity and criticality, exploitability, asset prioritization, etc. So remediation. This remediating vulnerabilities, it involves taking action to mitigate or eliminate security weaknesses in an organization's IT environment. Key points for remediating vulnerabilities include patch management, configurations changes, security policies, network segmentations, and prioritization. So as we all know, patch management is just trying to fix any hole that is within a particular system. Patches are released whenever and the designer of that particular software realize that there are some problems with the software. So every single software that is being developed, as we've been saying always, because of time frame and stuff, sometimes pressure and the rest, even after the software has been tested and everything seems to be okay, you can start using the software, and then later the developer could detect some holes within that software. If the attacker is able to know it before the developer or before the designer of that software, we call it a 0-day, because it could be taken advantage of and then causing damage to the organization before the developer gets to know about it and then applying or releasing patches for that. So whenever there is a patch release for any particular software, like Microsoft is doing and the other areas, other companies are doing, we try to apply those patches immediately, because the moment a patch is released, it means there has been some problem or they have detected a problem with that particular software. That is why that patch is being released. So whenever there is a patch released, we try to patch that particular software. So patch management software is a tool that helps organizations keep their computer system up to date with the latest security patches. Most patch management solutions will automatically check for updates and prompt the user when the new ones are available. Some patch management systems also allow for deployment of patches across multiple computers in an organization, making it easier to keep large fleets of machines secured. Configuration changes. or configurations management. Security configurations management software helps to what? Ensure that devices are configured in a secured manner. That changes to device security attempts are tracked and approved, and that systems are compliant with security policies. Many software configuration management tools include features like that allow organizations to scan devices and network for vulnerabilities, track remediation actions, and then to generate reports on security policy compliance. So security policy compliance or security policies is just, we have policies in so many ways. Organizations do draft or do design a policy, a written one for that matter, to guide how employees or how people within that particular environment act or works within the system. We have a technical policy that we set to make sure that it stops you even if you want to violate that policy. With a written policy, it is very easy for employees not to pay attention to that, because if you, for instance, you have a policy within the organization that every single employee should try as much as he or she can within every 3 months to change his password and use a unique password. And you say it verbally, or you write it on a piece of paper and then you paste it within the organization, or you even have it printed out and given to every single employee. It will be very difficult for every employee to comply to this particular policy, that every 3 months he will change his password. Even if they do, they will try to repeat the old passwords. But when you set a policy, a technical one for that matter, that even if the time is up and you fail to change your password, automatically the system locks you out. You can't log into the organization system. You'll be forced to always change your password. So that is why most IT firms decide or always go by setting a technical policy that every time you kind of have a particular software you're working with, at the end of every 3 months, we set a rule that you change your password. If you don't change it, the system will not allow you to be able to log into the system. We have it on Sophos, on Symantec, and other tools or other software that we use within SoftAfrica, that we can set a password expiration that whenever it is time, you need to change your password. If you don't do it, it will be very difficult for you to log in. And even before the time reaches, you'll be sent a notification that the time is fast approaching, that you need to kind of change your password. Network segmentation, as we all know, is just divide. Is just, trying to break the network into areas that you push certain things at one side, and then you keep others at the other side. You try to separate it so that in case there is a problem with one particular area, the other area could be able, or you'll be able to kind of work with that, or you save your data, you segment it, and then you keep your data, your important data at a particular area, and then there's maybe one area that everyone is kind of working within. So if there is a problem with this area, it will not affect the other area and vice versa. So that is what it's all about. So prioritization has to do with what you think is very important, or what you attach more importance to. So in the assets, there are almost every asset that you think, okay, these assets, I need to keep it. I need to keep a 360 eye on it, because it's a very important tool within the organization. So whenever there is a breach of that asset, it could cause us a lot. So we try to make sure that attention is given much to a prioritized area, and then the other areas to be looking into it. But the more attention is given to what we think is very, very critical, because losing it could cause the organization a lot of damage and what have you. Measuring the effectiveness of vulnerability management. So measuring the effectiveness of vulnerability management is just a vital for assessing the strength of an organization's cybersecurity efforts. Key points for measuring effectiveness include vulnerability reduction, repeat incidents, continuous improvements, integration with security operations, user awareness training, and the rest. So these are some of the things that is being provided by our able brother, Mr. Justin, who unfortunately is not here to kind of do the presentation. But this is his work, as I said earlier on, and we tried to kind of say one or two things in it. Hopefully next week, we just hoping that we'll get him so that he'll come and then maybe do a hands-on on that particular area. So I think I will stop here and then we'll come back to the house. If there's anything, we'll just discuss it and then we'll see. Thank you very much, guys. And the doors are open. So boss, the floor is yours now.
All right, thank you, Shafiu, for stepping in for Justin. I believe the floor is open for questions. If anyone has any question on what Shafiu just presented on, I mean, we can actually do justice in trying to help answer the questions if anyone has any. Are there questions on what Shafiu just presented on? All right, if there are no questions, I think that's about it then. I don't have much to say myself. So Janet, I think the floor is yours.
Right, thank you so much. Shafiu, thank you for taking today's session with us. Okay, so before I'll talk, I'd like us to just have this ad run, then I would say a few things. Kochoma or Kasa? All right, Shafiu, I believe it's okay. I can add a few words to that, and then we can close from here. So today, this is what I have to say. I believe there are a number of investment packages out there, and the best thing to do is to invest in oneself. So either we invest in our education and or career. And so if it's with education or career, then cybersecurity is one of the best ways to go. As Software Freak, we give cybersecurity education, and with this, you are able to work remotely or hybrid, and at the same time, make between 120 to 150K a year. This is very possible. With us, our course takes a 4-month period to get done. and we make sure we prepare our students on hands-on training, as well as prepare them for exams. There are a number of benefits you can enjoy from us. I'd love to mention a few. So we prepare a resume that is tailored to what you have been trained on. We also prepare our students for interviews lined up until they are hired. And then we also ensure that we provide support to all our newly hired students on the job. If you are looking at doing any investments, I advocate that you take investing in yourself, either education or in your career. And if it's this, then Soft Afrique is the best option. Thank you so much. Thank you for all those who attended today's session. All our guests and in-house people are all welcome next week and every other Wednesday. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.